the hands. In Jesus' mighty name we pray and believe. Amen.
Amen, and thank you, Elizabeth, for that opening prayer. Good evening once again, and allow me to also wish you a happy new year. We haven't met this year virtually or physically, and therefore it's a good time to also wish you those greetings. So as we start off, we are grateful for the journey for this far that the Lord has brought us. We are indeed blessed to be here and to be of service this semester. And we trust the Lord to take care of us in the remaining part of the semester, seeing that we have already started transacting official business as of last week. I'll be very brief because we have a demo session at 7:30. But before then allow me to also welcome the new lecturers who are teaching with us for the very first time on distance learning. And I know some years back, we used to have orientations for distance learning students, but at some point we halted that. But it is a good time to redeem them so that we begin from a clean slate, all of us moving together. And more so this being the semester and the quarter that we expect the Commission for University Education to come over for inspection of the Odell Center and give us an institutional accreditation. So we felt it would be useful for us to just share notes here and there because you're also the lecturers who are in the classroom and interact with the distance learning students while we do the administrative work, and therefore we know that you'd have viable contributions to make towards this course, and that together we can move towards one goal. So this is the orientation for distance learning lecturers, and our vision and mission are as stated here. Our work basically is to support off-campus and on-campus students in the provision of online quality education, and we do that by supporting the provision of the core service, which is teaching and learning, and the support services that accompany the teaching and learning experiences. So those of you who have been around for a long time know that the Distance Learning Directorate was established in 2012, 12th September, and we had very few students and 3 programs, but the initial program was BBA, and we have grown over time to include 11 more programs. And it is our dream to continue providing the same so that we can grow and include as many programs and as many students as possible. So our vision is to be the premier provider of accessible and flexible learning beyond the classroom through the St. Paul's virtual campus. So the accreditation of the Odell Center is just a beginning towards being a fully fledged campus. To become a campus, there are specific requirements that must be met, and we are working towards ensuring that eventually we become a campus, and part of that has to do with the Odell population of students and other things that accompany the institutionalization of a campus. Then our mission is to develop servant leaders by facilitating the acquisition of knowledge, creative and reflective skills and values to become an innovative individual for global service. So that is what we strive, or the functional statements that guide us as the Odell Directorate. And therefore our future is that, and every day we wake up to serve Odell users, our mission is as highlighted. Some of the functions of the Odell Directorate are not limited to the ones I'll state above, and I'll be sure to share this presentation with you at the end. But we are tasked to assure that electronically offered programs and courses meet institution-wide standards. So the Odell offering should not be different from other programs that are being offered, so that we continue to provide consistent quality and provide a coherent framework for students who may enroll in any of the programs, whether offered traditionally on campus or offered electronically. So that is our mandate, really, to ensure that there's no difference in the quality. Then we are required to maintain appropriate academic oversight. That is the supervisory role to ensure that in this mode of study, particularly off-campus students are able to receive the same quality in academia. Then we are tasked with maintaining consistency with institutions' academic planning and oversight functions to ensure congruence with the institution's mission and allocation of required resources. So as the Odell Directorate, again, we fill in this gap, ensure that all Odell matters are catered for in the planning, and all the functions are aligned to the institution's mission, as well as allocation of the required resources. We also assure integrity of students' work and academic staff instruction. You have realized that once our students, the Odell students, are caught up in integrity matters in examinations, action is taken. And we are also required to ensure that instruction is provided as required, and we oversee that role by conducting the audits. We're also responsible for the management of production and distribution of study materials, also the management of student support services, such as the online services and chaplaincy. We also manage student assessments and examinations. You have realized by now that this function is centralized when it comes to the examination. And it's also because as we grow into a virtual campus, we are also expected to host an examinations department within the campus to take care of these examinations. We also facilitate the associated instructional and technical support relationships. So we work closely with the faculty and also with the ICT department to provide the technical support that is required. And we're also responsible for provision of training and support to both instructors and students. And I'm sure you have noted this is something that we have continually done and we continue to do, because capacity building is an important component of what we do. So for those who are new to Odell, distance and e-learning basically means a mode that is flexible, accessible, and many times cost-effective. And cost-effective does not necessarily mean in terms of payment of fees. It also means in terms of the savings that a student accrues from not having to come physically on campus. So if they would have spent money on transport, they're able to save a bit of that. If they would have spent money on accommodation, they're able to save on that, and other associated costs. So let's note the flexibility and the accessibility, because those are critical components that characterize this mode of study. Therefore, you will have noticed that we barely provide timetables on when Odell classes should be scheduled, because we allow for that flexibility, because the needs of the students are very varied, and therefore we leave it for the instructor to reach out to the students and negotiate for a time that works for all. So then that allows all of us to be self-leading and to be self-directed in this task that we undertake as we teach these students. It's also accessible, meaning that our students should be able to learn where they are anytime. So if we provide resources, like live links and things like that, we should be sure that our students can access them from where they are, be it out of the country or in any corner of this country, particularly if they're able to access some internet connectivity. It is also an alternative to the traditional classroom-based approach. I think that we all agree with. If they cannot come face-to-face, then they're catered for in the online environment. Then it is also a way of learning remotely with limited lecturer-student face-to-face interaction. I think the key word here is face-to-face interaction. There will be barely any physical proximity or face-to-face interactions with each other, because face-to-face interactions would only come up if you're meeting in classrooms or if they come to see you in the offices, but that is highly unlikely to happen. Instead, we have synchronous sessions, which is a live session like what we're having now, and that is how we get to interact with our students. And distance and e-learning is facilitated through the e-learning portal. So then what are our expectations of you as our lecturers as we begin this journey together? And today being day one, this is a good time to have this discussion. So we are expecting that as of today, you have already accessed the timetable, which was distributed sometime last week, and you have already identified your classes. That is very helpful because if you have classes that you're unable to teach, then you get to let us know and we are able to reassign them in good time so that students do not miss out. And what happens is that when we do not access the timetable in good time, up to the third week, we realize that a lecturer has not taken up a class. And we only get to realize this if the audit results come through or if students reach out to us. Quality assurance mechanisms and processes have been pushing to have classes start on day one. So on Odell, again, we are not left behind. As of today, seeing that the semester began last week, we are required to have at least started to populate the preliminary information. And the preliminary information basically is what we provide as a startup for the course, the introductory component, where we include a welcome note. So we welcome the students to the virtual classroom. Then you post the write-up on new to online education, and this content is usually provided to you. We circulate these through the heads of departments, but we also circulate from our office. So if one is teaching a fully online class like what we're having on distance learning or blended learning, we require that this preliminary information is posted so that students understand what this online engagement is all about. Then Meet the People tour has to do with the lecturer probably putting a face to their name. You can post a picture there, a photo of you, so that students get to see you and know who they're dealing with, because in the virtual world, it's never easy to tell who it is. When you do that, some students will take advantage and also allow you to see them. But most importantly, you introduce yourself, tell them who you are or what you do or what your interests are, and encourage them to respond to that thread, and also encourage other students to respond to other students as they welcome each other to their class. Also, there's a bit of intercession. Remember, we are required to integrate faith with learning as a Christian institution. So the challenge here is for you to take time to post a Bible verse to encourage your students, or post a prayer and encourage them to also do the same. Every week you can request them to post a prayer or pray for each other or post a prayer need and things like that. Then the Let's Chat session, or rather box, where you can encourage them to talk about issues affecting their class. This is just a general section where they can address matters affecting that particular unit. And as the course instructor, you can be going in to respond to some of those issues. And then post the netiquette, very, very critical. I think at some point we were pushed to develop the netiquette, because every time we call for an online meeting, particularly after the university was closed, we realized that people did not have the conduct that is required for online interactions. So people would be joining classrooms lying on their beds, or rather sessions lying on their beds or walking around, or some would be cooking. And so an etiquette sort of provides a framework, an operational framework for everyone to observe. So this constitutes the preliminary information, and it's also part of the content that is available on the template for uploading the content, which again, we share every semester. And that template is useful because it helps us to standardize the way things should be done, and also to promote quality across board, so that everyone is not doing what they think, but that we have a reference point for all our activities and formatting of activities. Then we also expect that a course outline will be availed or should have been availed by now or will be availed in the course of this week. After this session, we are having a demo on the template for the e-learning course design, which is what we are slowly introducing to substitute the course outline. The template is more inclusive. It helps a facilitator to plan for an online class as well as a blended learning class, because once the activities have been duly filled in, it's possible for the students to see how the entire course is going to be covered, which sessions are going to be synchronous, which are going to be asynchronous. If it is blended, which ones are going to be face-to-face, and which ones are going to be online. Then it is also important for us to direct the students to the key resources for the course. At this point, we are referring to the module. I think we were having this discussion and we were saying we have good resources, the modules are good resources, but we've been pushed to withhold them, because we notice that lecturers are just okay when the module is available, and students are left to just read the module with no interaction with the lecturer or any collaborative efforts amongst themselves. So we since took away the modules from the courses, but I think we reached a decision and agreed that modules are useful, because it is not fair to have these resources just lying somewhere, and yet they can be very useful to the students, but they'll be used on the condition that the lecturer will guide the students week by week on how to use this module, and direct the learning process and enhance that module using activities, using discussions, using forums, using quizzes, using links to videos to provide reflections, and so on and so forth. And then the other issue also is e-resources. For online students, we are required to use e-resources and not hard textbooks, because they may not be able to access those ones. Also, read the e-learning strategy document. This is always provided at the beginning of every semester. It dictates how e-learning is to be conducted throughout the semester. There are specifications on what is the bare minimum. I appreciate the fact that some of us go beyond what is stipulated there, and that is commendable, but that is the one document that stipulates how we should conduct the affair. I think I've already talked about the module. If you require the module for your course, please get in touch with Oscar, and Oscar will be able to provide the module to you for that course. But remember, the copyright for the module basically indicates that the modules are university materials, and therefore in your usage, please have that disclaimer in mind. Then we are required to also foster, what was this? We are required to foster, I think, social, cognitive, and teaching presence. Let's make ourselves available for our students in the virtual classrooms. Let's encourage them to interact with each other and respond to the questions given, and also fulfill the requirements for the courses, and also adhere to the deadlines. Also, let's use the current e-resources, provide active links. If we have issues with that, please let's consult with the library, and they'll be willing to assist us for specific courses. I think I've been having this discussion with Irene, and they are ready and willing to assist any lecturer who reaches out. So we are required to use e-resources. Then let's provide feedback to discussions, forums, and questions asked. That fosters the teaching and the social presence as well. It is critical to communicate and apply a grading rubric. A rubric is what shows how marks will be distributed for your course. It varies from one course to the other. But the beauty with a grading rubric, and once communicated early
Hello,
in
Grace.
advance. Yes.
Grace.
Yes.
Your slides are not moving, eh?
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, we are still stuck on slide 1.
Oh my, they're moving on my end. Just stop
Okay.
sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that. Someone, okay.
It's okay.
Thank you. Can you see something, Marianne?
Yes, yes, we can see now.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm already winding up. I'm
Oh dear.
almost finishing, but that's okay. They'll be shared.
Okay,
That's
fine.
fine. Okay, let's stick to this one, this format where I can at least see them. Then, yeah, provision of feedback. It's an issue we've always had an issue with, especially coursework, because we tend to overstay with the coursework feedback and let students go to examinations without knowing what they scored. So the policy dictates that within 2 weeks after the deadline, we should be able to provide the coursework feedback. So yes, I was saying something about the grading rubric. It helps you to navigate through accusations, particularly where a student says they were not able to, attend to a particular assignment because of whatever excuses they'd be having. Once this rubric has been communicated in good time, you find that students are more responsive because they know how many marks they'll be gambling with by not undertaking a particular activity. Then the LMS Moodle, the e-learning portal, is the medium, the central medium of e-learning and virtual teaching and learning for those who are on blended. Anything else should just be used to complement. Why Moodle and why our LMS? Because that's the only thing we are able to go back and audit and, sort of demonstrate that online education has been dispensed. We'll also continue to conduct the weekly audits as we have always done, and the findings will always be shared so that if there's need for any interventions, then those ones are also designed in good time. We also have expectations for the student, and it's good for you to also know this, that for them, a typical week should involve reading through the current week's, assignments and lecture materials. So ensure that you keep them engaged, provide supplementary information, point them to more reading, using active links. You can use journals and any other related texts. Also, give them things to read on ebooks. You can point them to specific pages. Also require them to respond to a discussion question by a particular deadline. And this is where the grading rubric becomes important, because you are able to grade and tell them that if you do not participate, you have these marks to lose. And then also encourage discussion through discussion boards. Also encourage them and ensure that you require them to complete and send by a deadline assignments that are given. Remember, the policy also says that a student who does not have all the coursework marks should not be allowed to do the examinations. Also point them out to reflective videos and provide the link so that they can interact. So let them know that this is what is expected, and they'll be sure to reciprocate by doing what is required. So to facilitate you, we have a couple of documents and support resources. We have the e-learning strategy document. We have the template for uploading content, which again is always distributed. So it's what gives you the format for uploading content online. We have the handbook for Odell lecturers. We'll be sure to always distribute this. We've had it for a number of years now. We always conduct trainings and refresher demos. Then we have the support services that are available, the online services, and so on. Then the supplementary support materials, such as recordings of such an orientation and tutorials and manuals. And we have the mobile phone applications, particularly the one you'd find useful is the one that hosts Moodle, the Poodle that you find on the Google Play Store, and it's free. So those ones will be critical to facilitate you. And again, we are always available. I know the team is here. We have Patricia, who assists with the administrative component of things. Then we have Edwin, who will sort out any ICT matters. Oscar will assist with any course design related matters. And then in the recent past, we've had Irene joining us. Irene Ngendo, and Irene is responsible for examinations. So that is the team that is available to serve you. And of course, I'm always available on call and you can raise any issues with me at any time. And of course, we have important dates. Those have since been shared, so I will not go through those ones. And again, the slides will be shared. And with that, we only had 30 minutes for this. I hope I was not too fast for any of us. I think the recording we should be able to circulate, as well as the slides for this presentation. And with that, I have come to the end of the presentation for the orientation for distance learning lecturers. And I think I can now take some feedback or some responses to this. I see we have a minute left. It looks like in our timing, we sort of underestimated how much it would take, but I think I've been able to cover that well as we transition to the demo for the e-learning template. Thank you. Great, so I don't see anything on the chat box. There was a comment there. Oh, sorry, the slides are not moving. This is when I'm seeing this. Does the week-to-week presentation apply to VL and DL? Yes, that is what I would say, because whether a class is fully face-to-face or fully, or rather not face, well, it is actually face-to-face because we are now talking about blended learning. 40% of the course content should be covered online. So really we expect that when we go under your course on the portal, that we see your course, even though you may not adhere to the whole, the whole practice of populating that content that week, especially if you have a face-to-face class. But we expect you to go there and indicate it will be a face-to-face class, and then just get into the practice of referring your students to the portal to do quizzes or to do group discussions or to watch a certain video. Now that is the forum that you can utilize for those supplementary activities. And then I'm seeing another question on whether we can revert to face-to-face exams. I find this format so fluid. I think this is with regards to open book examinations. Yes, open book examinations are not sustainable, and we are all agreeing that we need to move away from them. I think it was, or rather, it's actually the reality. It was a remedy for the emergency remote teaching that we diverted into. As far as DL is concerned, we are now looking at how to enable examinations without having to get a student who is out of the country to fly back and incur the expenditure to just come and write examinations. So we're exploring a number of varied options, and one of them is an online examination solution that has proctoring tools and an ability to authenticate the practice of doing proper quality examinations. But that is a discussion that is still underway, and I think at various levels, it is something that is being discussed even by the Commission for University Education. So with time, let's see what comes out of it. But as we revert to face-to-face for the rest of the modes, we will need to consider a decision that works for distance learning students. Dr. Otuya, I think your hand was up.
Thank you, Grace, for the presentation. Mine is just to confirm about the timetable, because I've received many queries from students. DL timetable does not have the dates and time, so they don't know when to take the units. And also others have complained that the units they had booked are no longer there. And for some lecturers, including myself, the units I'm teaching have no participants. So today was the day we were start teaching. So if the students don't know when they are to learn the units and the lecturers don't have participants, it becomes a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Otuya, for that. I think we note the issues on the timetable, and Patricia and myself will look at that as soon as we are done with these meetings today, so that our students settle in good time. On the issue of the timing on the timetable, remember, we are coming from scheduled face-to-face. Remember when we used to have face-to-face meetings? And the timings used to work well for us then because of the transitions that would happen thereafter from movement from one class to the other. Now, as it stands now, we may even need to agree on this forum whether we should now be indicating the meeting times for these students on the timetables. And remember, part of what characterizes these students is the fact that they are unable to attend face-to-face classes because of varied needs, whatever they are, and there are many. So if we say we schedule a class at 5 p.m. and then we have this police officer at the Bonny Forest who has to climb on top of a tree to cut some internet connectivity, how do we deal with such students who are in such areas? Or would we rather the current arrangement where we allow a discussion between the lecturers and the students, and then you schedule a class based on their availability? I think that's something we can agree on. As we ponder on that, we can allow another 6 minutes to finish off with this session, then we transition to the next. As we ponder on that, and anyone with a response can help contribute to the same. Let me allow Mary Kibwine and Dr. Mugambi to also comment. Go ahead, Mary.
Good evening, Grace. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for that beautiful presentation.
Hi, Mary, kindly get closer to your mic.
Good evening. You can hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, thank you so much for that beautiful presentation and clarifying a number of things. Now, mine is, I don't know whether it's a question or comment, but it's about the regular students who are in the DL mode. Now, like last semester and even the other semester, I actually faced a lot of pressure of the regular students wanting a class every week. So actually, I need cover almost, I think I need 1 or 2, because I didn't have a way of telling them, now look here, the DL mode has a different schedule altogether. And in line with that, of course, and having a few students having talked to me, the ones who are regular, you find that they have found a route to go to the DL classes. So I don't know if there is a way of clarifying to the regular students that these two modes are quite different and they should stop pressurizing us. Because now, you say I cannot go telling them, look here, the university doesn't require that. Of course, I have a right to defend the university. So the only thing is just to suffer silently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. That's quick that's a quick one to respond to. And my response may appear quite a bit unorthodox. But when a student pursues a unit in a different mode, then they are bound by the practice of that particular mode. I think that's how it has always been. And previously, before we moved virtual, if a DL student booked a face-to-face class, then they would be required to attend classes just like the rest. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to meet each of them at their point of need, because we would be overwhelmed by their needs for convenience. So they are bound by the mode that they go to study in. And if a DL student chooses a course that is, again, virtual, they'll be required to attend every week and things like that. I think that's the uniform way of addressing that particular matter. I don't know if that helps. Mary, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay.
But it's quite an issue with them. Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, and I've received that quite a lot. Again, DL students who have been put on virtual classes, or rather who selected classes on virtual mode, will again complain too much because they're being required to meet every week, and then they have all these demands. Maybe they're traveling, or they're working at night or in the evening, and those kind of things. So I think that would be the best way to deal with it. I think Dr. Mugambi has since dropped, and she had put up her hand. Beth is also saying, okay, we note that students are not appearing in the portal Edwin, you can go ahead as I read the comment from Beth and try to process. Go ahead, Edwin.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
I think on the issue that has been raised by Madam Kibwine on these students who are on various modes of study wanting to bring in the rules, I found one of the best ways to work around that is to actually put it on the welcome note as you are putting that down and say that if it's a virtual class, all the students who are there will be expected to either come for class every week, or if it's a DL class, you just communicate to them that the times for class meetings will be discussed, and you actually put it, we are going to meet either 2 or 3 times in the semester, so that the students are quite clear on that. So I think if we all endeavor to put in that welcome note and try to put in as much information as possible on how the class will be administered, then it would bring in it will bring down some of those issues, because I know students can be very demanding. Another thing, probably, as we are meeting for those sessions, because we're expected to have a few sessions with the DL students online, you could probably select the topics that you feel are quite important, although maybe that is debatable, especially for mathematical units. But there are those topics, for instance, that you feel could be more important. So again, you can tell the students you're going to meet at this week to discuss areas A, B, C, D. That way, I think you bring down the expectations of the students who either expect to be meeting you every week, or those who do not expect to be meeting you every week. The other issue on participants not appearing on the portal, I know earlier in the day we had an issue that we managed to address, so you should be getting your students on the portal, but I think our bad habits, students are yet to fully register for the semester, so the numbers will be quite low. But in the meantime, I encourage us to post the preliminary information. The 1 or 2 students who will be there, they are the ones who will inform the others that the learning process has taken off. But the issues that were there on students appearing were addressed earlier in the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin, for those useful contributions. We can have Dr. Mugambi please comment in a very short time, and Dr. Kibora as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Grace. I just wanted to bring to your attention that I received the unit you have given me to teach, and one of it, HRM 405, is not appearing in the portal, but it is in the timetable. HRM 405.
Okay, we note that. Edwin, please take that up. I think it's an issue of allocation, but Edwin can confirm that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Grace?
Okay, thank you. Mine is to request that we have the mobile numbers for the students, because what I've realized is when you send them an email or you send them a message in the group, some of them, it's like they see, but they pretend they didn't see. So you're trying to fix a time to meet them and they are all evading. But if we have the telephone numbers, personally, I used to call the ones I could get, and then we're able to get a concession as to which date we can actually have the 2 or 3 meetings that we'll have. And sometimes some of them say they cannot access the portal. They're writing you an email, and the email they're writing you, they are writing like 3 weeks after you have started the class. So if we could get the mobile numbers, it would really, really assist, because then you can put a WhatsApp and rope in all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Edwin, is there a way or the lecturer can actually access the mobile numbers for these students directly?
I have always found that debatable for various reasons, because first, the official mode of communication for the university is on email. So if there's somebody who claims they didn't see the email, I think that's just an excuse. But we can explore ways in which we can give you, or we can actually have those numbers on the on the students portal, which again will bring some other challenges, especially we know we deal with a lot of students from diverse backgrounds. We are dealing with some of them in some maybe sensitive dockets where they wouldn't like their phone numbers exposed, because if we put them on the students portal, not the students portal, sorry, if we put them on the e-learning portal, that would expose them to everybody in that class, which may not be very comfortable with everyone. So it's quite debatable, but I think if we insisted on writing them emails and posting any information that we want to post on the portal, then again that would work, because number one, you only appear on the portal if you have met the conditions. So for that student who is not appearing in that class, and it means they have not done something unless there's an issue, and if there's an issue, we will always raise that or handle that. But mainly, I would advise us to stick to emails and the e-learning portal, so that that works. And another thing that I found working is if you put in some marks to attendance of, let's say, those classes. For instance, there are groups I met 2 times, and attending each class would contribute some marks. You will notice that the numbers are high. But for any student who is expected to be learning, they are expected to be on the portal. That is, they are expected to have booked their units and registered their courses, so that we minimize those debates. But for the phone numbers, I would still be very skeptical about having them on the portal. Grace?
Understood.
All right. And the other option, Grace, is just to create a WhatsApp group and provide the link on the Let's Chat section, or as you're providing the preliminary information, and then they will be able to join once you have provided that link. So it also helps. Again, the grading rubric goes a long way, because then they know if they missed those activities, then they're missing out on marks. I think I've seen quite a number of people raise issues on when students join the courses and whether there's a deadline. Yes, usually we operate with the last day for registering and booking units. Unfortunately, we have never stuck to the initial date, and it's not a DL issue here. It's actually a university issue, because there's always need for more students, and every time we need to get students to enroll for the semester, we find dates being pushed, and therefore they will continue to join. And I'm not sure if there's something we can do about that at the moment, but it has always, that flexible arrangement has always been allowed. I think let's manage it case by case. If it is too much and you have already advanced way too much, I think you can always revert back to us for advising. Okay, there's a suggestion to give numbers directly to be the ones to give us, students to be the ones to give us their numbers directly. That's a good suggestion. And when you put that WhatsApp link there, those who want their numbers publicized will be free to join. I think that's pretty much it from the chat box. And with that, colleagues, I truly want to appreciate.
Before you end,
please make it fast, because we have another session to join.
An issue that I've noticed with the WhatsApp groups, even when the lecturers create them, they put them as a plain text. It's not as a link on the portal. So that is a training gap that we have identified, and that will be covered, I think, in our next session, so that they're able to put in those WhatsApp links as links themselves, links that are clickable to the students.
Perfect. That's a good one. So there's help and interventions that are being designed to help us with some of those issues. So watch out for any trainings that will be scheduled in the future. Please be part of them. We have noticed that those who participate in those trainings are doing a very good job in outlining their content, in interacting with students, and even warming up to the technology itself. So with that, please allow me to close the session so that we can transition to the other demo on the e-learning blended learning template. a useful session that will not take long, at most 30 minutes, and I'm inviting you to join us as we transition using the other link that was provided. And with that, let's close with the word of the grace. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you, and have a good evening ahead after our session, the one we are transitioning to. Thank you.